And then the last two questions are qualitative. What challenges have you faced when using AI in classroom? So there are issues like GDPR, not experimented enough. Images appears similar to Padlet, so they can, they can replace it with other softwares, even Canva. This is very important. AI is a great tool, and we live in the era of digitalization. So currently, we can witness that AI is everywhere, and everyone use it. So the biggest challenge in my practice is that unfortunately, students know how correctly to use it in their learning. Most of them prefer to use lazy way to generate the answers without critical thinking. So this is something that keeps on, teaching staff keep on saying in different ways. Student misusing for AI for assignments, data privacy, reliability. Um, it can be time wasting exploring AI for a task and not reach your goal. Students are too quickly to rely on AI tools like ChatGPT, like replacing it with the critical thinking, lack of original thinking. So you could see the same thing about, and then you have got ethics as well. I've noticed that when students are given an activity in class to search on a particular topic and share their answers, many of the students rely and use ChatGPT as a source of research. They will utilize it to find out answers rather than developing their research skill and show their own understanding of or the critical thinking. They will read out what chat says. This in turn develops a struggle for the students, as they will sometimes use the references provided by ChatGPT, which is not accurate, and the reference cannot be found online as it is multiple sources. So these are the results. Obviously, I think the more data I collect, I'll have more insights into the challenges that teachers face as well in the class. Thank you, Divya.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Noman. This was really, really interesting. And let me just play the intro video.
Outstanding, a world-class vision, a world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused.
Welcome everybody to the Tuesday Twilight Show with me, Timea, on Teachers Talk Radio, where we discuss hot topics in higher education. And today's topic is launching AI in learning and teaching in higher education. And our fantastic guest, Dr. Noman Mahtab, has done amazing research on it with a survey. And thank you very much, Noman, for sharing that survey. And actually, just to sum it up for our listeners and viewers, the major thing is that majority of the respondents, the lecturers, and you were very keen on interviewing lecturers only, use AI daily. I mean, majority used it daily, but at the same time, the majority says that they have never received formal training on that, right? And this is exactly what I'd like to go into more details very soon, inviting our other guests as well. One other interesting thing was that when you asked them what they use it was for creating content predominantly, right? Also giving personalized feedback and admin tasks. But it was interesting that they don't really, or it was not, at least in this survey, not really predominantly using as part of the teaching in the classroom. And I also would like to talk about this really, how we can make it part of the classroom teaching, right? And at the same time, yes, the mostly used channel is, or mostly used platform or tool is ChatGPT with Claude and some others included. And you mentioned some of the ethical concerns as well. So it's great. It was a very good start to this conversation today, where we would like to dive deeper on some practical examples and also on how to plan a standardized launch, so that it doesn't become just the preference of the individual lecturers on what's happening, but it could be standardized across the institution, right? So just to discuss it, Do you have to add? Do you have anything to add? No, sorry, I just summarized
No worries,
what you
no worries.
said.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah, the same thing. I've heard very interesting thing. I think in November when Bill Gates was in Dubai, so I was listening to the conference, and he said very interesting thing that there is no structured way to use AI. We just need to keep it very close to ourselves, and I
Mhm.
think then we'll realize how we use it, and I think that changed my perspective as well about AI. That we need to keep it close to ourselves. Whether it's generative AI or other softwares, and we just keep it close to ourselves as teachers as well, and we'll realize how we can incorporate it, like you said, in admin tasks or to simplify our
Mhm.
tasks outside the classroom, but inside the classroom as well. I've recently practiced. I can share the prompt with you as well.
Mhm.
I've created a prompt. I'm a salesman and want to sell you a watch.
Mhm.
Role as a difficult customer and how many sales skills and how my sales skills are, and at the end provide feedback on my sales skill. So what happens is that ChatGPT becomes I'm talking about ChatGPT, sorry. So ChatGPT becomes a difficult customer, and students use different ways and to sell. So it's just that I think we have to incorporate it so it doesn't really dominate that critical thinking, and then we keep on embracing it as well.
Yeah,
And I
but
think it's a
then
very interesting exercise. Students loved it. And I think they've learned as well because they were all trying different ways to interact with ChatGPT and trying to sell the bot. And actually, it does give you a feedback at the end as well and asks you to keep trying. And
yeah, and I will come back to it, some practical examples, and this is one of them. But let me just bring in here my uh, a question here then. If we let all the lecturers just embrace it and do however they want, how do we make sure across the program team, the course, the institution, that students have the same experience? There might be some lecturers who are big promoters of it, have wonderful ideas and really happy to involve, and those students will be able to practice it, right? While in another group where the lecturer is more reluctant, and it actually happened at a staff development day where we brought in an external speaker on AI, presented on AI tools, and this was, you were there. It was very exciting. Most of the audience was very excited, and there were some, even if not a lot, who were very much reluctant. And that's an interesting question to discuss, because this is my thinking that just like with any other content, we are not telling lecturers that come to the college, come to the university, go to your class and deliver whatever you want on entrepreneurship or business management or whatever the topic is, digital marketing. But we have a standardized content that they should deliver, and obviously they can add their own flavors. But that's the question. Even this is a challenge rather than a question, and I'd like to kind of keep it then in the discussion, because this is a something we should think of. How do we make sure across all the modules, across the college, that students have the same experience and also the benefits? So those students whose lecturer decides not to add it, or just very minimally, would they get the same, right? They will,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, this is a challenge here really, and to talk about, right?
And I think, the trainings we had, the one that you're mentioning when Sean came in, you're talking
Yeah,
about Sean, right?
yeah,
So
Sean
Sean
McGowan,
came
yeah.
in, yeah, Sean came in, and then there was another training as well. What do you call it? The digital badge
Yes,
trainings that
yeah,
we have
with Ashley Garlic, yes.
embracing AI. And I think we just need to decide how do we want to carry on with these trainings, because the trainings that I have attended, 3 to 4 trainings, they were predominantly about how to use AI tools, and we were talking about different tools. And I
Mhm,
think if we structure it, for example, like I lead 2 modules, and sometimes I have 40, 45 groups, and then
mhm,
you have 30 teachers. And if we have a structured training,
mhm.
and I'm trained on embracing AI tools, and then we incorporate it in the content, then all the teaching staff will have to do that because we look for uniformity as well. But I
Agree with
think it's very important that we structure the trainings, and because I need to learn more as well about this.
And structure the day training, like how do you mean structure? What does it mean structure for you? So
I
like
think
you have
it I, I
sections of
think it has I think it has to move on from the trainings where we introduce new tools, and
mhm,
then just have a college wise policies or university wise policies where we just incorporate it, and the training should move away from us being introduced new tools only. But I'm
Okay.
trying to think,
No, that's a very good discussion, that we should understand the tools. Fine. We should practice it. Then we should also have some ideas and examples, all the lecturers, on what to do. And eventually, I think that was a very good point, as you said, that it should be part of the content, whatever is in the content slides. When it says, watch this video, discuss this with students, this should also be like, as you said, do this exercise with this sales, the example that you brought in, that ask ChatGPT or the AI to act as a sales agent, and this should be there, and this is how to standardize in a way, right? Because otherwise it just becomes a series of exciting training sessions, as you say, and it doesn't become in a standardized way part of the curriculum, right? That's what you say, that it should also be go beyond just sharing some tools, but actually sharing what you use those tools for in learning and teaching, right?
yes, while you was talking, I was just thinking, there is an app, H5P. I don't know if you know about that.
No,
But
what is that?
H5P, actually, we can't demonstrate it here in front of the audience
We
because
can.
you have to pay. Like, no, you have to pay. But
Okay.
I was hearing that maybe we get the subscription for that. So basically, H5P, you can incorporate it in Canvas, the learning management system we are familiar with, and
Okay.
basically it just makes it interactive, and that plugin is added into. So that is something that is beyond moving, talking about new applications and standardizing it, because
Okay.
we talk about trainings. I use certain things, the other teachers would use certain things, but I think something that can be uniform. Just trying to think, H5P plugin incorporated inside Canvas, we all use it, we'll all use it to make it more interactive. And I think things like that comes from the college, like, like a policy, and or a software that is implemented on top of our learning management systems and helps us.
Yeah, absolutely. And H5P, I will check this out. And actually, this is something that would work when it's in Canvas, where it's there, or in Blackboard, or whatever system people use. Then it becomes standardized, and then you can train people on it. Now, I would like to, obviously, we go on with the conversation. Thank you, everybody who are watching us live. Please add comments, questions, or share your experience. So if you can use the comment section on whenever you are watching us live, and please share your thoughts, questions, or even some examples. This would be really good. We'll also share examples. And before I invite our next guest on stage, I would like to just recap again that you're listening to the Tuesday Twilight Show at Teachers Talk Radio. Every second Tuesday from 6 p.m. I have some brilliant guests like today, and we are discussing hot topics in higher education. And if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, please do. It's called Soundbites and Insights. It's delivered to 10,000 educators every week, and it contains a curated selection of 4 standout Teachers Talk Radio shows from the week. As this is not the only show, there are many others, and not just in higher education. You also have some exclusive discounts and exclusive offers from our sponsors. So please sign up and also follow us on social media. And now I'd like to invite to the stage Dr. Matt Karbach. Hi, Matt. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Timmy. Do you hear me? Yeah, thanks.
Yes, I can hear you, and thank you for
Perfect.
being here. And Matt founded 15 years ago Education Technology, a platform, so it was well before AI. And I'd like to also discuss later on, like the digitalization. And this is a fantastic platform for lecturers, teachers to obviously learn anything technology. It has a blog that was often quoted by the biggest news outlets. So I'm very happy to have Matt here. Thank you for joining. And just turning to you as well on the topic, you could listen to everything that we've shared so far. So what are your findings? We are now focusing on higher education for this session. So what are your findings on the reluctancy or the curiosity of lecturers to use AI in learning and teaching specifically now, and any of the challenges? So if I'm sure that you have experience in that from your network.
Yeah, thanks, Timia, and thanks, Noman, for the interesting presentation on AI. As you said, Timia, I have been in this field for many years now, but with the coming of AI, it's a completely different landscape, and it's not anything like what we have seen before. I mean, with EdTech, it was kind of quite different from what we are seeing right now with AI. Simply because AI is a tool that, for the first time in human history, it can do some very complex cognitive processes before all the technologies that we've been using in education and elsewhere, they were not as powerful cognitively speaking as AI. And so it's very understandable that higher ed institutions are kind of operating from a place of fear, and I can see it. So many higher ed institutions right now are struggling to come up with policies that kind of provide teachers with a pedagogical alignment of how they can use AI. And I have been getting a lot of emails and DMs from faculty, from teachers in higher ed, and also in K-12 settings. And most of what I can see from, from what I can see from all of these feedback that I get from teachers, is there is a sort of implicit frustration with AI use, and especially kind of the embrace, the institutional embrace of AI. There is still a lot of fear. Now, we have, from on the one side, we have an institutional pressure to embrace AI, but there is nothing on the ground. There is no policies to guide how you use AI. There is no enough resources. There is not enough training. And so teachers and educators are left to themselves to figure out how to use AI and whether they can even use AI or not. Yes.
Yes, so that I thought this is the case. That's true. And in this session, let's try to focus on trying to help. For example, let's just bring in some actual examples that both of you can share on how to use it. Let's talk about how to have the policy creation of the policy or policy maker. So let's try to give some kind of just thoughts on the solutions, if it's possible.
Yeah. So here's just this past week, I was working on a syllabus from a graduate course I'm teaching, and I had to spend a lot of time just on the assignment part because of AI. So it's true that there is some concerns because of AI coming in, but instead of just fear, we need to kind of act creatively to embrace it. And here's an example. So I used assignments that are grounded in students' experiences, personal or professional. So I would tell them to write about something, but include their professional and personal experiences. And this way, at least if they use AI, then it will be only to help them. It's not a substitute for their writing. Also, there is the oral presentation part. So I focus a lot on oral presentations for students. I want to see them talk. So I mean, any kind of assignment, AI still can do it, but we can provide some kind of, I would not say AI proof examples, but AI smart ones. And here's the thing. Another thing I like to do with my students is, this is especially useful with the start of the semester. And in the first class, talk to your students, have a conversation with your students. I would talk to them and talk about AI, how we can use it, what's permissible and what's not. And I would also walk them through examples of the ethical use of AI. I would show them how I would use AI myself to help me edit my own writing, to help me brainstorm ideas, to help me come up with kind of assessment ideas and activities. So in this way, I walk them through the ethical part. I mean, they see how I use AI responsibly, and I ask them that they do the same. Another activity that I like to do with my students, especially around AI, is I would bring two versions of a written assignment. One is written by me without the help of AI, and another one is written by AI, completely by AI. And then we would work together in group to see the difference, I mean, linguistically speaking, in style and in the writing, in vocabulary, and then see how and see what are the characteristics of the language of AI, and what are the and how is it different from the language of a human being. And of course, we all know everybody who uses ChatGPT at least once a day or even 3 times a week, they can easily tell when a piece of writing is AI generated or not, because there is a lot of linguistic and visual telltales that say this is, well, I mean, you can tell that's an AI from a mile away. I mean, 3 seconds is all it takes me to read a piece of text and say, this is AI, especially for students, especially those who just copy and use. And so when students see that their teacher knows what's being written by AI and what's not, they know that you can easily identify their output. I mean, their AI generated output. I mean, they can at least, if they're planning to cheat, they can at least do some work, do part of the work,
Yeah.
at least to edit and not just copy and paste. Yes.
Absolutely. And what you're talking about is really AI literacy and teaching students AI literacy, what we talk a lot about. And what your examples I really like, because this is happening in the classroom. So when we talk about usage of AI by lecturers, is not only outside of the classroom creating the content or whatever, but it's actually using it in the classroom when teaching. And this is also something I did. I remember at the very beginning when I just told students that use AI to do the task that I asked them to do during the class, and they were like, "Oh, shall I use AI?" And I said, "Absolutely." And if you are in digital marketing, in my case, then you will have to be able to use it. But I really like what you mentioned, that they should critically reflect on it. So this is exactly what we did, that we then in groups analyzed those outcomes and looked at how that could be better by more research from their side, from adding a variety of things, by using AI just as an assistant or just as one of the many components and not solely relying on it, or using a better prompt. So this is then how they found out, and they were very confident by the end that, yes, I can use it, but this is exactly how you said, that there are, this is not the only thing that I will use. And I think this is really important, because it's actually letting them experiment with it and find out, like, for example, I asked them, like, find a unique selling proposition for it was a pet grooming company or enterprise. And if you are writing a very poor prompt or not really doing any research, then you will get back a very poor unique selling proposition, which will not be unique at all. And they found out themselves that, wow, this is not even good. And I think this is very important, to let them experiment, let them experience themselves that, oh my God, this is not good. Because if we just talk about it and say that, oh, it's not going to be good, then they will just, not feel it's okay, fine, I can still get away with it. And the other thing you mentioned is the assessments. There's a lot of talk about, like, the academic misconduct on assessments, for the right reasons. But if you really think of assessments, like in this case, we had some live briefs of a local company. They had to meet and create an analysis of all their marketing strategy, every platform, and then coming up with some recommendations on how they can increase sales within 12 months of that company. So yes, in that process, we looked at how to use AI along the process, but you cannot just type this in and say that this is the company, analyze all the platforms, and then come up with it. It's not possible. It's absolutely impossible. I always told students, I'm always telling everybody that that try to do it with AI only. That would be the perfect goal, world. And then you will find out that it's not possible. I'm trying very hard to always see how far I can go with it, but then I will experience that the limits, and those limits can actually change. Whatever we find as a limit today, it might change tomorrow or in 6 months, right? That's really the beauty of it, or even the threat of it, right? Going to Noman for some examples now. Do you have some practical examples? You mentioned the sales thing, which actually your example of this talking with AI on helping me is actually having a personalized teaching, right? That
Yes.
everybody can have the feedback on their level. It's not like one lecturer having one, but it's really like everybody is using AI and getting a very personalized feedback, right? It's something like that.
Yes, yes. I think if you read a lot of articles, there are a couple of very good articles on Times Higher Education as well, and they talk a lot about the use of AI is to give personalized feedback to the students. And I think this is one of the ways. But I
That's
personally
right.
think that personalized feedback for the students, which will help us to recognize strong or weak students, has to come from the organization. And it has to be structured, that transparent policy, and then the AI is constantly checked. So actually we know which students are weak or strong. But obviously, these small things we do in the class. And talking about the examples that I shared with you about the salesman. So I think AI is an amazing role play. You can ask AI to do a role play. I think it really, first thing is it's interesting. Sorry, and the second thing is, I think, is very ethical, because you're not asking students to actually go on ChatGPT, generate an answer, and give it to you. Like, for example, for our professional practice and business placement, the employability modules that we have in our business and management, we actually ask ChatGPT to act as an interviewer, and then you can tweak the interview up, an interview for a salesman or a branding manager, and then a hard interview and a soft interview, and then it keeps on asking you those questions, and you can, because we teach them the interview skills. And there is another thing. I think a lot of students, you'll be shocked, are unaware of the applicant tracking system, and they are not aware that a lot of employers now use AI, and a lot of good CVs don't get the human eye is because of the ATS system that they have installed. So it will say out of 1,000 CVs, take hundreds out. So it will really go up to 90% of the skills match sometimes. So AI, I think you can use ChatGPT again to basically give it the CV and the job description, and it will really give you an ATS score, which I've pilot tested, and it's quite accurate, I would say, if not
Mhm.
percent.
Wow.
And
That's
it's employability. And I think whatever examples I've given you, I think you would agree that these are ethical and kind of challenging the criticality of students. And one more thing, I think you was talking about the assessment. It didn't go through though, but we were thinking about something where we asked students to use ChatGPT and generate 2 marketing plans, and the assignment is to basically critically analyze it. I'm not sure if they use it again to critically analyze it as well, but I'm just
yeah.
saying that the task is to basically generate 2 marketing plans and then use AI to critically analyze it.
Then use AI to critically analyze it. How can
And
you
then
make
use, yeah,
that?
not really, yeah.
And but can I ask you now? That was interesting that you mentioned that we know the level of students who need more improvement. But how do you do that? So how can the lecturer see everybody's ChatGPT? That's a question. Like, when everybody, like, there are 30 students in a class, all of them do the role play, and it would be, as you say, is a really good thing, because you from the level of the answers, you would be able to identify as a lecturer who needs more improvement and which level they are. But how can you have access to all of their AI tool? You won't be able to see that, right?
You ask them and they would tell you, like, yeah,
Okay.
if you, to me, I think you ask them and they would tell you the score, and they'll be happy to share it
So this is the
with the
score.
class.
This is the score. But actually, you are right. You actually can walk around and look at where
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
is, and have a much quicker access to their level, rather than you don't need to interview each separately. So that's really interesting. I have some
Or maybe the URL of the chat session, they can share it with the teacher too, and you can see what they have been chatting, what they've been using on that session too.
Oh yeah, so probably they share it and have some critical or reflective statement after that, and then it could make it possible for the lecturer to see in a quicker time, in a shorter period of time, on where everybody is. Yeah, you're right. I'd like to now talk a bit about these AI tools. Not all of them are free. And before that, Matt, you also wanted to add something to it. I just saw that you wanted to share something in relation to what Noman said. Did you have anything to add to it? Because then please feel free. Or
no, just the feedback part is very important.
okay.
I use it in my own research. For instance, I would write something and then I would ask ChatGPT. I would assign it a role like act like a peer-reviewed journal editor or an established scholar, or whatever kind of role I wanted to be assigned to, and then I would provide it with a draft of my writings and ask it to give me feedback on it, and then based on that feedback, I would improve my things, or maybe identify other areas I haven't seen before, or it might even guide me towards other directions in my own research. So that's just very.
And this is great. And this
yeah.
is great with anything, like when students ask about any work, how they can improve. But then the other thing to kind of think about, the next step is to ask AI that, okay, because AI is very nice and offering at the end, do you want me to actually do it? And how easy it is to say that, yes, please do it. So if I upload a work, ask AI how I can improve it, AI will tell me a few points on what I could do, and then will ask me, do you want me to go ahead and update? And I'm just like, you know what, please do. So that's another thing to consider, like,
That's
why
right,
would I
yeah.
do it when AI will do it?
That's correct. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a real problem. I mean, it can be tempting to ask just ChatGPT, go ahead and do the thing for me. I mean, it can
Yeah,
be a real problem for
again,
students.
I think it's our job to make it that complex that it cannot be done, because it's also probably a more philosophical question that eventually, if it can do it, then why not to ask it to do it? So let's not just stop it for the sake of stopping it. Let's do it because we can do something better without it, not just for the sake of actually stopping it. So it's very interesting, and we go on in a minute, but let's just give 1 second to our fantastic sponsors. Because we can listen for free for these amazing speakers I have today, and also the other hosts have, because of the partnership we have with John Catt Educational. They are publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. If you want to level up your professional development today, please visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles and use the code GCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. And now back to our show, Tuesday Twilight Show. Every second Tuesday from 6 p.m. we talk about hot topics in higher education with my brilliant guests. Today I have Dr. Noman Makhtab and Dr. Matt Karbach, and we talk about launching AI, standardizing AI in learning and teaching in higher education. And so far we've really talked about some actual examples. Noman also shared his research in the topic. And we actually came to an exciting section where we talk about, like, okay, if AI can be used, let's not just stop students using AI for the sake of stopping it, but let's make it meaningful for them to actually also use other sources, right? This is what we are talking about here. And this is a question, like, how, because we all use AI also in our personal lives, right? And it was very interesting that I had a student in this digital marketing course, and we talked about copywriting, actually. And the student said that she was worried she wouldn't have those skills because she would be so used to asking AI everything that she wouldn't have the same skills she could have had without AI. If you see what I mean, that it makes you a bit more complacent by definition, just because you turn to it and you don't really have to go into details. Even if you just ask AI to kind of give you feedback on how you could improve, then it's not you thinking about how you could improve, right? So I'm playing a bit the devil's advocate here, and because that is also my job. AI is fantastic, but then as lecturers, our mission really is to kind of educate the next generation or students to kind of be able to think reflectively, to really have this kind of deep thinking, to really be able to analyze things, to be able to challenge themselves, to do more. So how do we do both? How do we make sure that we can have this balance? That's the question. If you have some and as much as we can bring in some examples that you know, or as much as we can bring in some suggestions, some tangible suggestions, it would be good. I don't know any of you who would like to answer this. Noman, and then I will go to Matt.
I think I've shared few examples with you, and I think these are the ethical ways that I could think of to incorporate it in the class. But I think the first thing is we'll have to make it acceptable. So like they can't use it in a sneaky way or the right word. So we make it acceptable, we embrace it, we bring it to the classroom, so they do it in front of us.
You mean
And
that we don't make them hide it? We say that fine, you can use it, experiment with it. It's
yes,
always the best. That's like we do it with kids. It's not a taboo, right? It's not like
it's
you have
not
to hide.
taboo. So
Yeah.
we need to move away from that, and then so they use it right in front of us, and then they will themselves realize what they are doing. I think they are asking the question that they should ask themselves, and because I think we shouldn't forget to use our valuable mind is very important, and I think that's the purpose of education.
Yes, and I think
Uh,
this is what comes into what Mad mentioned. When it's AI will not know your own stories or your own the research you did. Like Noman, that research is not yet in AI. And it doesn't know if you interview people, if you work with a specific company, AI will not know about them. So it's very very important for us as educators to also make sure that curiosity will still remain, and there are some things that they have to research themselves. But then again, this should be something which is not available in AI, because if it is, then it's easier there, right? So I would not say that just for the sake of stopping you from using it, I'm stopping you, right? That's my point here. And
there is
another,
one more thing, I was just while you was talking, I just realized, one very interesting thing I've shared with students, and they keep on doing that now, is if you do you know about that prompt tabular form? If you say to ChatGPT, for example, to create something in a tabular form. So, for example, one of the projects where students come up with a new idea, because you already talked about brainstorming, so I didn't mention that. But brainstorming and all that. So they come up with a new idea to create a business, and then another part is where they're supposed to be doing cost analysis. So they do their cost analysis, the fixed cost, the variable cost, and then they find out the revenue and the cost and the profits and all that. So once they have everything, if you put that in ChatGPT and ask it to put it in a tabular form, it really creates a couple of nice tables. So it really sorts out data as well. And I think this is another way to, I think, ethically incorporate it, where you have done it yourself, and then you ask ChatGPT to put it in a tabular form, and it will create uh, tables for you, and those tables you can actually use in your assignment. And I could see for this business innovation and entrepreneurial, a lot of my students have actually taken this idea, and rather than putting all the words in there, put some nice tables, and just to make their assignments neat, and brainstorm with it, role play with it. And I think I'll think of other ethical ways as well, but
no, that's very good, actually, using it as
uh,
an assistant to format,
That's
right?
right.
Mad, do you have any other things?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think first, for me personally, it's okay. I tell my students it's okay. We're going to use AI because they will be using AI anyway. Some of them, or probably all of them. So there is no way that you can have an assignment in which there is some kind of writing, and they can't use AI because it's there and it can help. I mean, not all of them. Some still try to, I mean, do it by themselves, but a lot of students use AI. Anyway, this is another point. But here's the thing. So for me, I always tell them, please do the first draft yourself. Try to write, try to jot down your own ideas, and please use Google Docs or Word, but I prefer Google Docs, and use the track history so that I can see exactly how they built their own ideas. You can see if they paste something and copy paste something there, and so I can kind of track the development of these ideas, and I tell them, all right, so go ahead, come up with your own draft, and use ChatGPT to help you refine and review your draft. That's fine, but do the work first by yourself.
That's a very
Uh,
good. Yeah.
Yes, and the second one here is I always show them the work that, for instance, deep research. You know, the deep research feature now that is in ChatGPT Plus and in other AI chatbots like Claude and Gemini. Now they have this feature called deep research that produces kind of reports of literature reviews and stuff like that. So I've been using it for some time, and here's what I noticed: if you're a lecturer and you have expertise in your own field, in your own domain, you will see that these kind of literature reviews that the deep research feature, both in ChatGPT and in Claude, at least those that I've been using. Gemini, I used it once or twice, but I can't talk about it here. But for ChatGPT and Claude, it's still their reports, their literature reviews is still lacking in intellectual depth of a real deep literature review. So you can tell if it's written by a ChatGPT or not. And also because you have expertise in your own field, you know, when you ask students to write about something in your own field, you know the authors, the established scholars that need to be referenced there. And if they are not there, then there is something wrong there. You see, so there is this human part of the teacher, this expertise, and there is also the experience of a lecturer together with AI, and you can have a balance between them. And so once students know that you can tell, I mean, you have this kind of expertise, you have this kind of knowledge, then they are more inclined to put some intellectual effort into the assignments that you provide them.
No, that was a very good example on how we can just showcase these examples to students. Very, very good. And you mentioned an interesting thing, Matt. I wanted to come back to it, like the ChatGPT Pro. And we know that we can do more with Pro and the paid ones. Let's talk a bit about that. How do we exclude some students? Because we tell them use AI, but not all of them will have the Pro. Actually, it's like, what, $20 a month.
20. Mhm.
So what do we say about that? Yes, we could it's I don't think it's really possible from in the institution to, or I'm not sure if it is, to subscribe. What are your suggestions? What are your ideas on that? Do we exclude students when we tell them go on AI and some will have the Pro, some won't?
That's a big problem of equity and accessibility that's one of the limitations of not only AI technology in general. Some students will be left behind because of a financial investment that these tools require, and unfortunately, for as of right now, institutions don't pay. At least most of them that I know of don't pay for these. Premium versions. And in fact, ChatGPT and Claude that I use a lot, their premium versions is I mean, if you're using the free version, that's nothing. I mean, their strength lies in the premium version, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the free version is really nothing as far as academic and scholarly work is concerned. If you don't use a premium version, then you might as well just not use it. So
Okay, so I think this
that's
is a
what I
very
think.
critical point in our discussion, that how can we talk about AI learning and teaching when we just say that yes, the paid version is much better, and not everybody will have access. So it's very interesting. Noman, do you have a solution for that or any views?
Rather than talking about a solution, I think, did you heard the news that UAE has rolled out free Chat GPT Plus for all its residents? Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
So I think I'm just gonna, if you want me,
We
I
should
can share
move there.
the art.
We should move
I
there,
can
Noman.
share the. I can put it in the chat. You can share it with your but obviously if you Google, you'll find it. So I think it's quite
Oh,
possible,
wow.
isn't it? So we are talking about personal level or student level or university or colleges level, and here we are. One country has
Hmm.
rolled it out for all its
Uh,
citizens for free.
So we
And
should.
yeah, and I think if you go to ChatGPT's website, you'll see that they've got ChatGPT Business Plus. So it's not like ChatGPT $20 multiplied by all the teachers. They've got business package where you can use it on an institutional level. And I think if institutions want us to incorporate it and practice with it, and to utilize features like deep search and the unlimited uploads, which the ChatGPT Plus has, I think they need to give it to us for free.
But
That's right.
is it possible to buy an institutional? I'm not sure about
Yeah,
it. Is it
business.
a
Yes,
subscription
business. Yeah. So
for
if you check
GPT
ChatGPT
Pro?
Business, you will
But
see.
how many? How many users? Like thousands, or if we have
I
thousands?
I I'm really sorry. I don't know about that, but I
Yeah,
think
no, no, it's
ChatGPT
not that
Business is
right.
for small and medium businesses, and
Okay, but then
yeah,
we can all agree that otherwise, if we really all agree, and we all agree that the paid versions are better, and some can use it, some don't, and but obviously, I think it's also about learning to use AI. It's not just what we find there. And this is why we should probably not rely too much in an assessment on what it is there. It's just also for students to get used to the idea of using it and how to reflecting on what they have out of it and critically analyze it. I think you can do it also with the free, honestly, because that's not about the content. But if you really want to have some very good quality thing, then obviously you have to go further. We go. I'm very happy that we have fantastic listeners who added some comments and questions. But before that, let me talk about the Chalk and Talk podcast, who also sponsor our show. This is a fantastic podcast that Teachers Talk Radio. But if you're looking for another great education podcast, then check out Chalk and Talk with Anna Stocky. Anna is a passionate advocate for evidence-based math education for students of all ages. And on her podcast, she talks about everything from effective teaching methods and how-to guides for teaching math facts, for tips for evaluating research shows claims. She brings on top-notch guest educators, researchers, and policymakers and discusses issues that directly impact teachers and students. Chalk and Talk is for everyone interested in education, so listen to them. And now back to Teachers Talk Radio, Tuesday Twilight Show with my fantastic guests, Dr. Noma Mahtab and Dr. Matt Karbach, talking about AI in learning and teaching in higher education. We've covered a lot of exciting topics, and fortunately, we have some questions also from our listeners. Amara says this is wonderful to bring the topic under discussion that higher education AI can be used in the classroom. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening us from the LinkedIn Live. Ume says that interesting, Noman, probably it was the survey. And we also have a quick question from a primary school teacher, and let's answer this even if it's not higher education, but we'd like to obviously involve everybody. Just wondering, do children then lose the ability to self-edit, self-assess? I think we partly answered this because that's a question that how do you assess yourself? But we can go back to it if you want. Abdul says insightful. Thank you, Abdul. And Carmen says thank you so much with 5 stars. So we got 5 stars. Thank you very much, everybody. And let's
I think,
go.
Dimya, can I just briefly address this if that's okay?
Please do. That's okay. That's what I
Yeah,
wanted.
I think what she meant is that with AI, I think we get rescued too quickly. That's the issue. Yeah. So
Yeah.
without I remember when I used to study as a me as a student, we don't get rescued, so we have to really put that pressure in our brain. And I think healthy amount of stress is very important, anyways, for your brain to function. And I think she meant that obviously with using these tools, even if you try and use your valuable imagination and mind, I think with ChatGPT you get rescued quickly. So I think these students won't have the rigor if they get rescued too quickly. This is my personal opinion, by the way.
Yeah, and you're right. I love this aspect of rescue too quickly. It's almost like running a marathon without actually having to run, right? It's just you've run the marathon. Will you have the same experience and same all the experience you have from actually running the marathon and everything that
Yeah.
has an impact in your life? You will not. It's
Yes.
just you've run the
It's
marathon.
more like as soon as you get tired, you can get on the bike. You know, you run the marathon. As soon as you get tired,
but let's
That's
use
right.
this let's use this platform to actually discuss it. What's the solution to this? You rescue too quickly, but at the same time, why wouldn't you? Why would you want to drone for hours if you could get the rescue right away? So
I
yeah,
mean,
that's a very good question. Yeah, Matt.
even the use of AI with primary students, I do have some reservations and concerns about it. It's not like using it with graduate students or even high school students. So it's really a tricky it's a field of mines right there in primary students. I don't think we should be using AI as much as we think we should with primary students, with kids. There should be some hands-on activities in class and stuff like that. Not a lot of AI work with them. But yes, they should be some kind of AI work. But I mean, as I said, I do have some concerns when it comes to kids, primary kids, using AI. So.
But you
Mhm.
don't have any concerns in the higher education then?
No, not higher education, but
Because
with
we think
primary
that they are
kids, yes.
more able to actually decide and reflect. But I think I would just go back to it if I want to answer Fig the moving teacher. Thank you for listening up us from X Live. That actually we could teach. I mean, if you go back to higher education, we could practice this self-assessment ourselves, and I think this is fantastic. And we started actually the show with this. Like, okay, find it. Do you find it useful enough? Right. So don't ask me as a teacher, go back to it and do you think that has it given you a good answer? Is it useful for you? And then they can decide. In higher education, we're talking about adults, that they can decide that is it useful for me or not. And then we can also teach them, and this is really interesting, that we can suddenly go to self-assessment, and how do we do it and how we critically analyze, because that's really the most difficult, right? To critically analyze. And we could use this, even to teach them critically analyze, right? Thanks. Yeah. No, man, I'm not sure if you want to say something. I would like to add from Marcia. I'm very sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name well, from LinkedIn Live. I'm Marcia Donadel. My work brings together art education and research through interdisciplinary approaches. I create methodologies and formative experiences with social and cultural impact. I've been exploring how AI can support meaningful learning experiences. How can we use AI to encourage creativity? Fantastic. Thank you. It's a good question. So I'll ask both of you. We talked a lot about how we can use it for learning and teaching, how we can encourage creativity. So I think the question here, how we can encourage creativity in ourselves, not letting AI do it, but how we can ask it to help us be creative, right? And I think some of the things we've mentioned, and then I will, meanwhile you're thinking, just my thoughts on it, that actually brainstorming is really like that.
That's
Because
right.
I think that I used to work in the creative industry, marketing, copywriting. We used to work with huge teams, inspiring each other as a team. It was even before digital, to be fair, but we could ignite each other with the brainstorming. And now, as many of us sit working from home, or students are working themselves, and this is lacking. Your brain cannot inspire itself. You need to feed the brain. And AI, there are other ways, obviously, but AI can nurture your brain and creativity if you use it the right way, if you're just using it to ignite your brain and not to give you the solution right away. Is it something that you've experienced, or any other things that you could give as a tip to
Yeah, I think you can ask AI. I think whatever I'm saying, I've pilot tested it. So you can ask AI to create a story. So you give AI an idea, and it will create a short story for you, and you can analyze it and see how it is. So I think it's both balance of you are embracing AI, and then obviously you're using your valuable brain and you're
Uh,
creating as well.
how do you mean creating stories?
So if you give it a prompt like a tagline, and it will create a story. So you ask them to create a story of um, two people, and they are in a difficult situation in a desert, and
And
and it
yeah,
will create a short story for you, and you can read that, and it's actually a good read, to be honest.
yeah, but how will it encourage you to be more creative then? That was the question.
Yeah, we can ask this question. So it started from your own creativity, but then you pass the ball on to
Yeah,
ChatGPT, I
and
would
then it
say.
was creative instead of you. Yeah. Or you can actually
It
ask
started
AI.
with your valuable brain, though,
You know what?
Timia, and then you pass the ball on. So
Yeah,
you know,
it's a very good one. You ask AI to start the story, you go on with the story and pass back the ball, and then it's in both ways, really. Because I agree with Marcia on this, that it sometimes just takes away
very
the
difficult,
creativity.
very
We
difficult.
are rescued too soon, as Noman said. Yes, Matt, do you have some examples how it can, and let's have some tangible examples as
Yeah.
much as we can, how it can
No,
encourage
well,
to be more creative.
yes. So when you were talking, I remember the story that Salman Khan, the author of New Words, this AI book, he talked about his, I think his daughter, and how she was writing a story by herself, and then she has this writer blog, and then his daughter is just a kid, by the way, and so she went to ChatGPT, and she got rescued. It helped her with ideas to move on with the story, with the writing of the story. This is getting help to be more creative, I think. But if we think about creativity, the definition of it as coming up or applying original ideas, then this original thing is very hard to be creative when ChatGPT is giving you ideas. But here is the thing. For instance, when doing research, I might provide ChatGPT with my topic, with the write-up, my draft, and I would ask it for provide me with a, possible research directions or possible research questions for this topic. And based on the responses I got from ChatGPT, I would probably come up with different questions. It's like it would trigger you to see some other areas that you did not you didn't see when you were writing. So that's how I would see using ChatGPT collaboratively and creatively.
Yeah, so even just finding some ways in your research, even if your research is usually based on something you are curious about, but you can see some other areas you didn't even think you to be curious, right? You don't know what you don't
Mhm.
know. Yeah, that's interesting. I hope that it answers Marcia's questions. And absolutely, if anybody has suggestions and any kind of experiences, please share in comments. Thank you very much for following us from the various platforms. And I'd like to come to, as we now talk about how to launch it in learning and teaching, not just as a lecturer, but across the institution, being standardized to make sure that each student has a similar level of experience. And Noman, you are also a subject lead, and I'm not sure, Matt, if you are responsible for a group of lecturers, but let's just talk about what if there is a very reluctant lecturer, because let's be fair, this is something that they go into the classroom, and this is something that they don't have decades of experience in, and they are used to it. They don't want to go,
Mhm.
not necessarily want to go to a classroom to students and say that, look, I have the same experience as you. So what do you do in that case? How do you encourage them? How you make sure that those students don't miss out on practicing AI just because the lecturer is more reluctant for whatever reasons? It could be good reasons. I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, but anyway, what do you do? I don't know, Noman, if you have any.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Timia, the thing is that we haven't standardized. So the examples that I have discussed with you is me using AI in the classroom with my students, and we haven't standardized it yet because there is no institutional policy. We use some of the tools like I use Quizlet. Is a very interesting AI tool, and we incorporate because we got blended learning at LCCA, so
Mhm.
we incorporated so that students can interact. And we use Canva as well, Canva AI. That's again a very interesting tool. Fishbone AI, where they can create those diagrams and use it in their presentations and assignments. So students do it independently. So if a student use Canva AI, or a student uses Fishbone AI to create a diagram, and the other one uses tools that are present in um, Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, is up to them. So as much as it's up to them, I think we do not have we haven't formalized yet.
Mhm.
And I am a great advocate, and I'm very much willing to create a uniformity, because like I've got 2 modules. Sometimes I've got 40 teachers teaching on my module, and I have to look after them, as you know.
Mhm.
So I would be more than reluctant to be the first one, to be honest, to
Okay,
formalize
so I
it
can commit
and
to that.
incorporate it.
As we work together, I can commit to actually
But there is a non-uniformity. I would agree.
should. I mean, we shouldn't let, and it's not just us in any institution, just let it at this point to the discretion of that lecturer, because it means that in the same institution, even on the same course, students are not getting the same experience. So it should be part of the content. It should be, and as you say, more formalized, and there could be some flexibility as always with content, but overall this should be really, and as you said previously, also with the training, it should really make sure that it's not just about the tools, but also how it is part of the content, and obviously the policies too. There should be, but the only thing is that with AI, as we said, it changes much quicker than anything else. So it will also need a lot of updates very, very quickly. So I think that we should really talk more about it. But this is really my huge focus now, how to launch it in a formalized, standardized way that students get the same experience, right? Meanwhile,
Great.
you get some very good feedback from Shebaz, excellent, Noman, very good. And also Marcia said that it was very meaningful insight. Thank you. Thank you, Marcia. Meanwhile, Matt, do you have some insights about it or any ideas on how to, I don't know if you have experience with this, how to standardize it and launch it institutionally, not just within the discretion of each lecturer or the individual lecturer?
No, I did not have the privilege of having a leadership role yet. So I'm not sure, but I would say it's very important that the faculty have a space for dialogue about AI use. That's very important. It's not only policy enforcement, but also dialogue with all the lecturers, with all the people working. I mean, all teachers, and talk about the AI use and how to use it. That's what I would say. For students, teachers modeling it. I mean, wherever you go, there will always be some faculty members who will be resistant to the AI use or technology use. So that's very expected, and so this is why very important that space of dialogue between faculty and those who are using it to explain to how they use it and the benefits of it being used and stuff like that. And also at the institutional level, I talked about AI policies. The institutions must develop very updated AI policies to guide teachers on how to use AI. And as you said, it's true. AI is moving very fast. There are updates almost on a weekly basis, and it's very hard to keep up for institutions, especially given the bureaucracy and the complexity of how the institutions work. It's very hard to keep up, but it's also very important that there must be some kind of dialogue space for teachers to talk and explain, exchange
Absolutely.
ideas. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree. And I also think that it's a bit, even if it's not the same, but similar to digitalization. I mean, back then, obviously, when we moved from, the classic blackboard or classical blackboard and chalk to actually Canvas, then actually lecturers had to learn how to use these VLEs, and that was a little bit similar or across not just in the educational sector, but everywhere. When digitalization happened, we had to have some time until everybody was on board. But today, nobody has anything against using a VLE, right? So I think we have to go through the same process. So my last question will be to the two of you. So have a little think while I'm again mentioning a few messages. Some of the tools we mentioned a lot, ChatGPT and Gemini, and Noman also mentioned some, which I will check out, H5P and others. But let's talk a bit about tools now at the end. Okay, so what are the tools that you would or you use in learning and teaching? Okay, that will be my last question. But before you answer that, I just would like to mention again John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. If you would like to level up your professional development today, visit johncattbookshop.com and you can use the code GCTTR2425 for a 20% discount on your order. And with this, I'm turning back to my wonderful guests today, Dr. Noman Maghtab and Dr. Matt Karbach, on finishing this show with some tools that you would recommend beyond ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude that we've already mentioned. I don't know who would like to start. Noman, would you like to go ahead?
I think if the audience don't know it already, they should use Grammarly, and I think Grammarly is an amazing AI tool to learn English, and write yourself, and then it will recommend you vocabulary and improve your English with Grammarly as you embark on your education journey, and there is another interesting software, app, Notebook LM.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Notebook LM is very interesting. So you can,
Yeah.
I think it's focused towards people who do research like myself, and really you can put some articles on there, and it starts a discussion, and
Yeah.
a discussion among two members of AI, and then you can even put your own prompts in there. And I think I've learned a lot. And there is a new feature with Notebook LM, especially for researchers. It creates a mind map as well. So from the research articles, it created a mind map. So I was doing research on South Asian entrepreneurs for my previous article that I've published, and really helped me to create a mind map, which actually I had to edit, and it really provided me that structure to create a model for the South Asian entrepreneurs. And yeah.
But did you ask it to create a mind map, or it has a mind map function?
It has a mind map function separately, but it really reads your article in detail. I think more than any other generative AI or analytical AI software, really reads
Okay,
your article and
good.
creates
So
a
it's
discussion.
a mind map. That's very good. Okay.
Yeah, so it really looks at the variable inside your article and bring those variable into dependent and independent variable, and really helps you to create some, if you want to create some diagrams from inside your article.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, these are the ones. And Grammarly is the most accepted also in higher education institutions, because this is
You can
something
declare that.
reading, but actually it does much more than proofreading. And yeah, you really sounded like all those Grammarly ads that I'm watching on YouTube. I mean, they are heavily advertising, but it's really good, and it has the free version, and even the free version is really good, to be fair with you, right? So
Yes.
it's really, really good. I will, before Matt, I'd like to share ChatGPT custom GPT, and also Copilot has this custom one, but I use the ChatGPT one, which is really good. Like I uploaded my books there, or you can upload any of your articles, or if it's an ebook or a journal article. And the beauty, I think this is going beyond something I could ever imagine, that you don't have to read the book and actually find those bits in the various parts, but it really makes it possible to have almost like I would be sitting with someone and they just ask a question and it pulls together the answer from that one, but really making like I have a book about story ideas. So they can use it to build their own stories, but using the frameworks that I shared. And I think this is amazing, that anything that we have produced previously, we can turn into a custom GPT and use it as an agent to help students get the answers from a trusted source, if I might say so, but really something that we created and was probably published or was peer reviewed, and we can use it to help students rather than just say, okay, go and use AI, right? So that's also something to consider. Mad, Do you have some recommendations?
Yeah, beyond chat. First, let me start with ChatGPT because I like Chat. I'm not affiliated with ChatGPT at
Yeah,
all. So
no, that's absolutely fine.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I like ChatGPT a lot. It's because it's the first that started this revolution, and I think it's doing quite a good job with everything I need. So, but for researchers, I would highly recommend they use the projects feature in ChatGPT. For instance, if you're working on a research review or
Oh, Matt, you just froze. It was the project feature. It was such an exciting thing.
research literature.
Oh, Matt disappeared. And it was the most exciting part. I wanted to hear more about the project feature on ChatGPT. And while Matt is coming back, hopefully soon. Yeah, Matt, you were
Using
froze.
the
You
yeah,
froze a bit.
sorry, I just
You froze a
yeah,
bit.
I just got an incoming call and it stopped
Okay.
me. I'm using my phone because the camera of my phone is better than my laptop.
Okay.
That's why I'm
Okay. So
talking
you
to you through
mentioned
my
the
phone.
project feature on ChatGPT.
So I said the project feature is very important. If you're if you're working on any kind of research project, start with creating a project on ChatGPT. And for instance, if I'm working on a literature review, I would go and create a project, call it literature review, and then upload your stuff there, including the articles you're reading or the drafts you're doing. So what you're doing is creating a context, a very limited context that you work on. That's very important because ChatGPT performs very good when it has a limited context. So that's number one. So beyond ChatGPT, I love Canva, and I like Canva. I use it to create my visuals that I share on LinkedIn. For diagrams, I like Napkin AI. It's a very good tool too. It's very easy to use. It's very intuitive and very practical. For taking notes, I love to use Notion. I think it's very known, and also Obsidian. Notion is very interesting because it allows you to create this interconnected kind of system of notes. So you can connect all of your notes like you're reading a page, and so the insights are you can start navigating one note and then end up in a completely different note. So you're able to relate the insights you learn from different parts. And for academic research, I like R Discovery. It's called R Discovery, and Site I think SC. Let me see, SCITE and Site. And there is also the other tool called Elicit. Elicit, ICET, and the last one is consensus. Those are very important tools for academic research. Those are just for academic research. I like them and I use them quite often.
Oh, fantastic. That was really, really a great range of tools. And Noman, you also mentioned Fishbone or for diagrams, or what was that?
Yeah, it's actually boardmix.com. If you the website is
Yeah.
Okay,
boardmix.com.
boardmakes.com. Okay.
Okay.
Wow. So there's really a lot. And I really liked how you, Matt, added some points of ChatGPT that we can go beyond just kind of using the basic function. We can really use it for various things. And it is really important to know that as well. And I know I promised you it's going to be the last question, but I cannot avoid this because every time we have this discussion, it comes up data protection. Let's just have your views on it, or what do you do when a lecturer tells you this, or probably a student that they don't want to use it, data protection. We talked about CVs, Noman. We talked about personal stories they upload. We talked about data that you're asking AI to put in a table. What do you answer, or what is your answer? And I know it's again could be institutional policy, but overall, just let's discuss it once we come together and actually we have a very nice viewership and listenership. So what is your view about data protection?
This is I think that is why it has to come from the institution. And when you talk about non-reluctance of some of the teachers, and I've heard this argument before from the teaching staff,
Times
and they are concerned about that, and they need some clarification. if not institution, if not from institution, from the country, or from the authorities, that there is no such concern, and this is why they are not reluctant. And I think this is a hurdle for us.
Mhm.
That is why we cannot formalize it. And if we formalize it, it has to come from the institution. It has to give us those reassurances. But I think for me, it's not it's not a concern, to be honest.
Yeah.
In terms of sharing, the CV or the information in general, because I don't share that personal information with it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
it's
good point. It has
it's
to
a
be.
huge confusion, Timia. Honestly, if I tell you, uh, I, I would say I don't have any clarity on this.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all
How
right.
the
That's
data
what I
is
want.
used,
That's what this should be institutional, and probably the only thing is that we should probably agree on what we share and what not. If you have this role play with a sales person that you started the session with, like asking a sales agent and sell me a
Yeah,
panel, that is not personal data, right? And probably we can draw some lines what we are not sharing with, or if it's just a, that's a good question. That if it's just a mock company that I'm writing a marketing strategy for, then probably it's okay to share because it's just a mock company or just for the assessment. But what if I work on a live brief with an actual company? Will I upload their statistics or their figures into that? Yeah, Matt, your views on it.
Yeah, if it's my information, I'm fine. I can do, I mean, anything with it. But if it's somebody else information, that I need to be very careful. As a rule of thumb, anything that is identifiable, any information that can identify a user, like the full name or some of my students, for instance, or stuff like that, I would either delete it or anonymize it. And I would be very careful with uploading students' assignments, especially if they are very personal. And I mean, you need to do a lot of work of deleting stuff before you upload. That's definitely something that you need to do. And also you can, as far as the technical part is concerned, for instance, back to ChatGPT, you can change the settings of ChatGPT so that it doesn't use the information you provide in the data training. I mean, you can access that in the settings of ChatGPT. You can also deactivate the memory and or use the temporary chat. There is a feature called temporary chat where you can chat with GPT and then it's deleted right after 30 days, I think. But the downside of this, if you change the settings of ChatGPT so that it doesn't build the memory at least, then it would not remember the context and everything that you talk with, that you chat with it. So each time you chat with it, it will start from anew. So that's the problem. But as a general rule of thumb, I would say anonymize, don't share identifiable information of students.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you very much. And then, as we
and
already.
very well said, Matt. I think it's very well said, I would say.
Yes,
Oh,
very well
thank you. No,
said.
man.
Yeah,
Thank you. And obviously, we should have a policy for that or institutionally think
That's
about
right.
it. But then again, it's very similar to. I remember when websites came in, I was there, and and online payment, and everybody said no, people will not pay online because whatever happens. And now, so I think I can see some similarities how we go through the same, and we'll come to, even if I know that AI and generative AI is not the same as simply digitalization, but I can see some similarities at the same time. And meanwhile, Ella Khan says, Notebook LM now speaks many languages. You can make the podcast in different languages. And that is, again, a very, very good point that with generative AI, we can make learning and teaching also more personalized in terms of those students whose first language is not English. I remember that before generative AI, we had to use Google Translate in various ways. I had some students
Mhm.
who didn't, and then it was like quite difficult. But with this, you can also have even some AI agents which help you with that. And that again is a very good positivity, right? So we just didn't even mention this, how much it helps you talk to students whose first language is not English, right? Yes, so thank you very much for being here. Thank you all our viewers and listeners, and to my two fantastic guests, Dr. Noman Makhtab, who is the subject lead at SCCA and also shared his research and several very insightful and very good examples and insightful thoughts, and to Dr. Matt Karbach, the founder of Education Technology, amazing insights, so good tours, and really, really good practical examples. Thank you for the two of you to come. I really would like to encourage everybody to follow Noman and Matt on LinkedIn. I think both of you are on LinkedIn, right? Obviously, I'm following you there. This is how I met Matt, actually. So absolutely do. And please also follow Teachers Talk Radio on all the social media platforms, and also sign up for our newsletter, Soundbites and Insights, which is delivered to 10,000 educators every week. And you can do it at ttradio.org/newsletter. Okay, so this is the end of our show. Thank you to the both of you. Have a
Thank you
wonderful
for having me.
and have a wonderful rest of the day. And thank you everybody for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you, Noman. Thank you, Timia.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Matt. Thank you,
Bye.
Timia. Bye-bye.
Outstanding and world-class vision and world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused